I have a cupcake, which is...
Cupcake day!
I don't know, what type do you think this is?
Lemon.
Lemon. We agreed that Danielle and I wouldn't talk till you did this intro because we're not on camera.
Yeah, well, now I have a cupcake, so I have to
So
eat
it's
this.
different, I
It's
guess.
not, the wrapper isn't coming... I'm just going to put
You're
this
having
over
an
here
issue
for
with your
now. I'm having a
cupcake?
cupcake. It's fine.
You have
I'll
a
get to that
cupcake issue.
I'll get to that cupcake later.
Okay.
I'm Austin Walker, joining me today on this rainy, cold, miserable Friday afternoon. I cannot wait for this week to be over. It has been a lot.
3 weeks long.
3 weeks long. It's true. Danielle.
Hi.
Riendo.
I'm a Danielle Riendo.
And Danika Herod. You can't see that they're on a different camera.
Hello.
And we're being really lazy today. We have some Far Cry 4 footage. 5 footage.
5.
It's 40 minutes. It's not even 40 minutes. It's 38 minutes of Far Cry 5.
It's like 38 minutes and 30 seconds.
I got to go play Far Cry 5 about 2 weeks ago at a secretive PR agency in Manhattan, and I played for about 3 hours. I was not allowed to capture the opening hour of that game, which is where you go and you try to arrest the dude. I'm allowed to talk about it. You go, you try to arrest the dude.
A dude.
Yeah. The dad.
Duder.
The dad of the cult.
Yes.
The cult dad.
Duder McGruder.
Duder McGruder, the cult dad.
Cult daddy.
Cult daddy, yeah. Natalie's also, are you on mic?
Yeah,
Did they
I'm
hear
on mic
that?
now.
Okay. And it goes bad, and then you do like a bit where there's a tutorial. This is coming in a little bit after that. So we're going to start that, and we're going to also turn off these blinding lights, and then we're going
Can't
to
wait.
talk about this
The
game.
water tastes weird. Has anybody had water from the kitchen today?
Oh,
No.
shit.
No, but I've seen
I
a lot
just-
of people fixing each.
Did you just fill yours?
I just filled it. Let's see.
This is Go ahead and we can go to the gameplay, frozen gameplay footage for a
Seems
second.
okay.
It's like a little weird. I've never played a Far Cry game.
That's
so
fine.
I'm excited. Oh, well, I'm excited to see what's
We're
really
gonna-
going
You
on.
never fied, cried.
I
so-
never fought, cried.
Oh my
You
God.
fighted your cries.
Didn't do that. So this is coming in again about an hour, a little over an hour after I started. I did the tutorial. Danika's looking like that water is really bad.
I'm just going to keep drinking
Which one did you take it from? Because I took this one from the lobby.
No,
Go ahead and hit
our
start.
kitchen.
Kitchen, okay. They were fixing it this morning.
We're going to need audio for us.
Oh yeah.
Look at that man.
That's Kevin Jones, who is one of the many random buddies that you can find in the game from rescuing
Kevin
them.
Jones.
Wait, why are we not hearing? Oh, is it? 1 second, pause. My guess is you need to put it through the decimator on the
You got to put it through the cult supply vehicle.
the PC really quick.
Hold on, I'm gonna go back to you.
Come back to us. We're gonna do some PC
There's
stuff.
a Wishbone Lake here.
That's cool. That's a cool place.
You ever watch Wishbone when you were little?
No, I was I was at like the very edge of the Wishbone generation.
I mean, I'm like a year older than you, and I watched Wishbone.
Okay, I did Book It,
I did book it as well.
so I was doing Book It instead of watching Wishbone.
Oh, okay.
I was busy.
I did both.
I didn't have time.
Oh, all right.
I was
You were
too
busy.
busy.
You were a busy young man. I understand. I had a lot of Wishbone in my life.
Do you have it on the decimator? There it is.
Oh, now we have audio.
Now we have audio. Let's go back to the beginning. We've got to talk about Kevin Jones.
Kevin Jones.
Oh, we have soap opera lighting now. It's true. We're in the soap opera. of Waypoint.
Yeah, this is actually kind of nice.
I like it.
To be honest, I like
like
that
it.
look.
That
Oh,
looks
I'm
okay.
super into it.
Yeah.
we could just do this forever.
The
and-
Nice
overhead
look.
lights, they blind me. Please, Mom.
No, our production people
blind
would
you.
yell at us.
Sorry, 1 second.
They would kill us. We'd be dead.
They would. I still haven't had that cupcake yet.
I think you should probably eat it. I think the chat probably wants you to eat a cupcake.
I'll eat
You have
the
to
cupcake
hold it
once
from
it's-
one side and
I
pinch
know.
the
Get it-
wrapper.
I know.
Well, you weren't doing that
That's
before.
because I was busy trying to, woo the camera people.
Oh.
You
Not
have
the
to
camera
woo them.
people, the people on the other side of the camera. You can go ahead and hit play on this
Woo the
footage so we can.
All right, here we go.
Everybody wants you to eat this cupcake.
Yes.
Footage, there we go. We can hear it. Okay, this is Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones is one of the new things in Far Cry 5 that I think is like really helping what I think about this game. So for Danika, past Far Cry games, you used to have to like climb a tower and it would add like 30 new things to the map.
Yeah.
In this,
Like in Horizon.
Like in
Yes,
Horizon.
yeah.
Horizon is that model exactly. In this, when you rescue people, when you find signs in the world, it'll just add one new thing to the map. And also, some of the people you rescue, you can join up with them as like partners, basically. Kevin Jones is one of those. He's not like he's a randomly named NPC.
Yeah.
But I love these new randomly named NPCs. And you'll see more of them in a moment. This is me kind of playing right before I started playing co-op with Jeff. Natalie, can you move the mouse cursor off the screen? Just like over the top right. Yeah, there you go. That's fine.
Kevin Jones.
Kevin Jones. He's definitely wearing an Obama T-shirt. Like it's,
He sure is.
he's like 100%.
He sure is.
And
That'll come back.
what I'm doing is destroying cult property like this truck to earn hashtag resistance points, which you can see up top there.
Welcome to the resistance.
Welcome to the hashtag resistance. And as you do that, you eventually unlock more missions and stuff
This
like
just
that.
looks like hectic. So are you?
It's super hectic. This is one of these random guys who just like crashed the car.
He's hard to talk to.
But he has some info, and this is that new system that I'm talking about, which is like,
Here it is.
like, hey, fucking stay still. I'm trying to talk to you.
He has good freckles.
Are you gonna bring up audio? Cool. And so also I'm like, thanks, bud. Thanks for telling me about the drum in place. I'm gonna just grab your car real quick. And then more people were attacking. It was. Danika's motioning.
I just think it's a little loud coming from the TV, just a tiny bit.
Oh, maybe. I think it's fine.
Okay, and it tells you where to go.
In fact, I'm not even piloting right now. I hit if you take a look, it says left trigger for auto or left thumbstick in for auto drive.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, yeah, fucking drive me there. And it's doing this rad rally cross style,
And
like
they're
lots
going
of
to
drifts.
Waypoint.
Are you going to where
Waypoint.
he just told you?
Yeah, so I just
okay,
marked it and
cool,
was like,
cool,
hey,
cool.
just go. And that flow is really good. Also, you're gonna see here just like, this game is really pretty. This is not 4K. They gave us 4K footage.
Oh boy.
And it was the first time I've ever noticed what 4K footage looks like.
Yeah.
I think it was all captured on a PS4 Pro, and it looked really, really good in a way that I don't normally pay attention to that stuff, and I did pay attention.
Yeah.
So
But we had to downsize to
Oh my
1080.
it was a whole.
This was
fucking
like 3
thing.
days of my life this week, but it did look absolutely stunning. Looking at the first footage, I actually cut most of this from the 4K
Right.
footage
Thank
itself.
you to Danielle, who actually we gave
Oh, yeah.
3 hours of footage to look through to cut down to this 40
No
minutes.
problemo.
I got the
my
cupcake
friend.
out of the wrapper.
Good job.
I cut little bits and pieces of just kind of running around, but I kept some of it. And then also, the only problem is Premiere just does not like to render 4K. It was okay to edit in. I have a pretty beefy little computer, but yeah,
What is happening?
All right, so I've now joined up with Jeff Baccalar. You can turn this down. Real quick.
Yeah, we're a little loud.
joined up. You hit him in
I did.
the femur.
So you see CNET, that's Jeff Baccalar from CNET, our old friend from the Beastcast, and that is Jake Smith, his buddy, his
Jake
version
Smith.
of Kevin Jones. Also, a weird note, Kevin Jones, my buddy, I really have a friend named Kevin Jones. We went to grade school in high school together. We were like super close friends.
Get some
I'm doing some
air.
sick tricks. We're racing to this.
So
one
how
point.
did you meet up with Jeff? How did that
There's
work
just
out?
you start up a mission, or you start a gameplay session and say, yeah, can I join up with friends? And you go like, yeah, and
Okay.
then you do. So here we're just kind of like, we had a mission, we'd heard that there's a woman named Jess who'd been kidnapped, who was kind of our main point of contact's niece or something. And so we were like, oh, we'll go meet up with her. And I was like, oh, I'll go in quiet. I got this cool gun that has a silencer on it. And then I immediately got fucking seen.
I remember when Vinny put the silencer on that pistol in Battlegrounds and tried to mess up some shit.
Axel Larat says, how the fuck do you come with such
Axel
unoriginal
Larat.
NPC names? They're randomly generated names. They're not NPCs that are like named characters. These are like completely randomized. I should not have shot that red tank. Completely randomized characters. They're not like, they're meant to just be like your average citizen of Hope County. I like how unoriginal they are. I like how boring, like they're just boring dudes from this area. I'm trying to do some esports shit there.
That was pretty good.
And so again, at this point, I'm taking on half of the compound while Jeff is taking on the other half. You just saw one of the new things, which is that enemies don't necessarily die right away. They also get knocked down, and that was one enemy reviving another different one.
Oh.
Which is pretty sick. And then at this point, Jeff is like, oh, they're coming from the road. And I'm like, no, they're not. What are you talking about? And he was, of course, completely right. And I was not looking at any of the roads, because here they come.
But here they come.
So we killed him, and we did it. We got this lumber mill, and then what you're
There's a
about to see...
cutscene there, but we had to cut that
We have
out.
to... you didn't... Oh, was there a cutscene you had to cut?
There was.
You still have some of the NPC dialogue.
Oh,
there,
of
though,
course.
Right? Okay.
And this is where you actually meet Jess.
Oh, okay, that's what I was thinking of. Okay.
That's all right.
So yeah, Jess is one of the... So you have the Kevin Joneses, you have the Jake Smiths, and then you have the Jesses. The Kevin Joneses and Jake Smiths...
They're a dime a dozen.
They're a dime a dozen. But Jess is a specialist, which means she has special abilities. And she is super serious. She has all sorts of super dark, grim, shitty bullshit to say, so get ready.
I'm gonna get right to the point.
She's gonna get right to
I was
the
on the
point.
trail of one of Jacob's zealots. Goes by the name... Bad idea, dickhead.
I really love that she noticed that I looked down the fucking sight at her, and I didn't... That wasn't... I was just trying to get a zoom in on her look.
She thought you were trying to look at her boobs.
I wasn't.
That's what she thought.
I was trying to, like...
She thought you were getting too friendly.
Yeah, don't sound so scary. Believe me, he's one...
Bad idea, dickhead.
Almost tracked him down. But a Peggy patrol...
So over
got
the
the
next,
drop.
like, heads up, content warning.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
about to tell a story about a bad guy we're gonna go
If you're
after.
looking to hook up with
That is... That goes to some really dark places.
It's upsetting.
regarding torture and children. That is, like,
Gotta move.
unnecessary
Wasted too much time already.
and not particularly well
Follow me.
delivered. And I think it's one of the earliest moments when I was like, this game's tone is all over the fucking place.
4 had that problem a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Far Cry 4.
Yeah, totally.
Which is a game that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think 4 is way
myself.
better than 3.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But still had some of those tone issues. And
Yeah.
then this ends up, you'll see, it is all over the place in terms of what it wants to be.
Yeah. So yeah, content warning for extreme violence.
For extreme violence,
abuse,
in-
etc.
in exposition.
Yeah.
Grabbing everywhere.
She just said there, she was like, that's his calling card. I had no idea what the fuck she was
Burning
talking about.
people or something.
Yeah, but like we
Then
couldn't
they switch
find them.
into one of two categories, weak or strong. See, Jacob's
The
built
two
in
genders.
arms,
Okay.
and anyone who can't or won't fight for it winds up dead. Culling the herd.
So she's talking about Jacob here, who is one of the 3 kind of like
Head guy?
apostles, basically. Yeah. So there is the main dude, Jacob Seed, not Jake Smith,
Right.
different guy. No, not Jacob. What is this actually? It's a different seed. It's
Don't get me wrong. Take this cult shit
maybe it is
serious.
Jacob Seed.
Jacob.
It's something Seed. It's something Seed. Jacob is his brother. Fuck. What is the main seed's name? Joseph Seed. is the
Oh,
main
okay.
one. And each of the games kind of like centered around Joseph's compound, but then around Joseph are 3 districts, and each district is controlled by one of these apostles.
I've played Yakuza before.
You played Yakuza.
Oh,
exactly.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
that. You played video games before. Here's some dead bodies, I
Some
guess.
blood.
And also some fasteners and proximity explosives, because sometimes you just gotta craft shit in the middle of the woods. And so here we're advancing down this kind of this pathway and trying to rescue these people.
Shit, I don't see him anywhere.
As always, it's Far Cry, which means like, oh, do you want to go in loud or do you want to go in quiet?
Yeah.
And a lot of what you're going to see here is very similar to what you've seen before in Far Cry games. The only real new stuff, like, there have been bows before. There have been NPCs that you can kind of order around, but they lean more in that direction this time.
Somebody's asking a very pertinent question. Does the player character always look like my racist
No,
uncle?
so one of the things that you'll see in a little bit is some light customization stuff that we can show.
Yeah.
I couldn't show the opening, which is where there's a moment where you kind of like look into a mirror and say, this is what my character looks like. And you can choose your gender, you can choose your race, you can choose your face, you can choose your skin color. So there is customization for the first time ever in one of these games. And the big reason for that, they're saying, is like, hey, you can play the whole game co-op now, so it's really important that you get to decide what you can play.
Yeah.
Which is like, that sounds like the thing that they told an investor to get the green light, or to, a producer to get the money to let you choose your character's look. But I'm happy for it because I get to play as like in this case, I'm playing as a black woman. Partially because I just wanted to see if that would do anything in terms of like, would characters respond differently to me?
But
in this,
no, right?
not as far as I've seen,
Yeah.
not through that first 3 hours. Oh, that's not true. There's one moment. We'll get to it.
Yep.
Look at the perks screen here. Very similar stuff. I didn't pick any of this. These are all like perks that they set up for me with this like slightly later game save. I got nimble fingers. I got a special ammo bag. I got the repair touch.
King of the jungle. That's survivalist, I guess. It said something like that. Sorry.
I guarantee there will be people out there today whose videos you can just go through and pause and look at all the,
Just look
the
at the
skill
whole
descriptions. I've been there. Yeah, someone says, there's the upgrade tree I crave, and it looks Ubisoft as fuck. Yep.
Cook didn't like that.
So this is the part that's real bad. They made the kids drink the pee, and then
That hasn't
there's...
happened yet. Don't spoil the pee.
No, they just said
Oh,
that.
did they? I missed
Yeah.
the pee.
Because the kids threw it up.
So one of the things
Just recapping.
One of the things that like immediately starts to undercut their own tone is that you'll hear here, and also there are moments that maybe didn't make this cut, but where Jake, who's the guy in the blue Obama shirt, it's not actually an Obama shirt, but it may as well be, will just like say other unrelated shit in the background in the middle of just be like, that bad guy made those kids drink their own pee, and then Jake will be like, yeah, sure is a lot of cults out there. And it's like unrelated. It's just like
God.
firing from one of his pre-recorded lines,
Right.
but like,
It's like someone pulled the string on his back
Yes.
and like,
Yep.
there's a snake in my boot. Whatever.
in each of these missions or in this mission, in each of like the subsections, there's this thing of just like, hey, you got to kill these bad guys before you're seen, otherwise they'll get killed. And I thought I was super clever about my plan on this one, and I don't think it went so good.
I gotta say, I do love the lichen textures on the rocks. It's real nice.
Yeah,
Real pretty.
you looked at those in 4K. for a
I
long
sure
time,
did.
So I mean,
They were beautiful. Going in quiet.
it's so weird because like so much of the stuff that there is to talk about is a series regular at this point. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, yeah, you can be stealthy, and it feels good. Like the bow feels cool. That was Jeff riding that zip line down, and then that's Jake riding, and then hitting the tree
there's
and
Jake.
falling over. Fucking Jake Smith.
Jake wanted to be on American Ninja Warrior.
He
but,
really badly did.
You know, he didn't quite make the audition.
So he was in Far Cry 5 instead.
Exactly.
Yep, he was like, I'm gonna be a hero.
I do love Jake.
Rose Prince Trey in the chat says, Rose Prince Trey in the trap. That's actually, that's what Trey says at the top of all of their hip hop albums. Trey says, I hate how much this appeals to my like of Northwestern aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like flannel, if you like trucker caps, if you like the outdoors, this game is gonna have that appeal for you, even though I think that it's kind of like, in the time that I played with it, politically cowardly. Jake sometimes just doesn't do walking animations and just glides around
Yep.
instead.
Yep. He flew in. That's Superman Jake.
Man, that was
This
very
game
good.
has some serious glitches in it
Chris
so
Angel,
far.
my freak.
Oh.
And it's like really gonna be one of those moments of like, does that shit bother you? I am a big Bethesda Games fan. I'm a big I like the bad unsanded edges a lot, and so it doesn't bug me. But if it bugs you, they're here.
It's gonna
bug you.
you.
I didn't see too much of it from enemies. I mostly saw it from Jake.
It was Jake.
Which
it was all
gave
Jake.
this sort of, and again, it was partially because we were
That's
playing.
like endearing. That's cute.
That's
you
the
know?
thing is we were playing in co-op, and so it was mostly just me and Jeff constantly being like, Jake, what the fuck are you doing? Jake, come on.
So Jake became like your real buddy because of that.
Yeah,
Like he's
When does this
endearing.
game come out?
The 27th of March.
It's my mom's birthday.
And so again, this shit is so it's like such a miss for me. The stuff that Jess is now saying about how the parents were tortured and then were fed to the children feels like so schlocky, so over the top. It doesn't actually communicate these bad guys as bad guys. It makes them feel like cartoon villains,
Yeah.
which feels like it's going so far against what people responded to when this game was first announced, which was like, oh, this feels grounded to a real crisis in America.
Right, yeah.
The just right-wing militia shit that feels like it has a real reason to be kind of tuned into it.
And also, I keep missing lines because I'm watching. I'm looking at the area that you're running through. So
Yeah.
I mean, I want to go for a hike right here. This is beautiful, but I don't want her to tell me about the dead people
You don't want
necessarily.
her to say, I'll never forget the smell. So one of the things that I'm actually really curious about, and it's hard to base this on things right now, but based on only my few hours, but there seems to be a really weird split across gender in terms of the specialists and their tone. There's a video up of most of them that you can go look at. I link out to it in my preview. And Jess and there's another character named, her name's Jess Black, and I forget what the other character's name is, but she's a sharpshooter from the army. And both of them are a little bit more deadly serious. and they're a
Yeah.
little bit more like. Also, they're both kind of sharpshooters. They're both kind of like sneaky characters.
Yeah.
And they're both like, I'm a serious person who has serious thoughts. I want revenge, or like I believe in honor and stuff. And with both of them, like they play it so straight, but almost all of the dude like specialist characters are these like frat boy goofballs. Or like even the ones, it's like you know, my family's always had planes, and I love planes, and I'm gonna use this plane
Yeah.
to blow shit up.
They get to have
And then it's
fun.
like, they get to have fun. They get to
Yeah,
have fun.
yeah.
And there is one lady who is like one of the other specialists' moms who seems to be like, I'm an old lady. I don't take shit from nobody, and like very like, you know, endearing waitress type
Sure.
like vibe, very
Sure.
Twin Peaks Norma style.
Yeah.
But by and large, that division was really frustrating. It seems like it could be really frustrating and weird. We'll see when the full game comes out.
Yeah.
But we decided, like, what if we just throw a bunch of grenades instead of actually fighting these guys? And it goes about as well as you might expect.
I have to say, from watching a lot of this, I am interested in the game, for sure. And I played 4 in a very, like, goofy, not very serious way. Like, that
Yeah.
was the game I played at midnight on Saturday night
Yes.
and didn't care.
Totally. I was just hoping that this would end up being something that elevated,
Yes.
tried to elevate itself a little bit higher than that.
And I feel like 4 walked a particular line with the
Yes.
serious, not serious stuff that this seems to be even. I'm not saying 4 was successful in that way. I think it
Right.
had a lot of issues, but I think it tried. It was one of those where it was like, it felt like the writers kind of had some intentionality to some of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And this, I'm almost worried, is a step backwards.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see, though, of
definitely
course,
will see.
you know.
But that is my fear, 100%.
Yeah.
You missed that there. Jeff shot that helicopter down, which was fun. I'm now throwing Molotov cocktails at the cook, who is the guy who
Yep.
burns people, which maybe is not the best play. Like, I feel like maybe if I was thinking more smartly, I'd know that he's the dude who doesn't worry about
He's
fire.
weak to, he's weak to water.
In fact,
Something, I
I'm
don't
the
know.
one who's weak to fire, clearly. There goes another helicopter that just crashed.
Oh my god.
There's a lot going on. A lot going on. We got a magical backpack there.
People can't see that.
I know.
Okay. I take this guy's flamethrower because it's a Far Cry game, and I was like,
No, you gotta.
yeah, you
gotta use their weapons against them.
There's people just screaming in the distance here, but I don't know from where. And here's Jess doing the like, I got my revenge, but I don't feel like a good person because of it.
I don't feel anything.
She's a little Jessica
To
Jones.
find this guy.
Also,
Yeah.
they,
I want her to have fun.
I thought that would be a more difficult
Like big fight.
encounter.
No.
What? There goes Jake.
Here's Jake. Jake
Oh,
caught up
oh,
with us finally.
All right, he
Been
slowed
right about
down.
A lot of shit lately. The cult. Eli. Maybe he's right about you too. You need someone to watch your back? Call me.
Watch it caboose.
And thanks
Oh.
for everything you've done.
Yeah, just some.
She just sprints away and then slows
And then slow
down.
motion. That's slow motion. kicking
Oh, I
in.
see, I see.
So now we unlocked her as a specialist who can join our crew instead of one of our fighters. You see she has 2 abilities. One is that like she's invisible, she has concealment, which is like no one will see her until you go loud. And 2 is animals won't fight you while she's around because
Interesting.
she's a friend to the animals, I guess.
Yeah.
And you'll also see here, I'm just looking at
You got
perks
some
again.
stuff at this point.
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, she comes back faster after being injured, which is interesting. Because I guess the notion is there's a chance that these characters will get hurt while playing, and then you'll end up needing. See, this game is
And then
still.
you just set the truck down. Oh my god.
I just. You know,
I
about
have
to
to
blow
say
up.
that it seems like the majority of the chat just seems so underwhelmed with the game so
I
far.
think that, like I said, I think it's their own fault in some ways in terms of setting very high expectations
Right.
around the narrative stuff.
Yeah.
And like, oh no, they decided to make a Far Cry game. Like they're still just making this far. Well, like, and again, maybe there are some really rad missions later on that shake that up, but the open world part of this game is the thing it is, except for.
Oh no,
again,
Jake's on fire. Jake,
We thought Jake was dead for sure.
stop, drop, and roll, Jake.
We got him.
Oh, or just pick him up.
He's good. He's good. He's
Pants
good.
are on fire a little bit there, Jakey.
I was trying to blow up this truck for fun, separately. You saw there, I don't know if it didn't actually happen, but I was trying to give him ammo.
Whoa!
So we're just jumping
Cut ahead now.
This is now I'm playing by myself again, I think.
I think so, yeah. I think you're about to meet a cool friend.
Oh my god.
A really good friend.
Okay, yeah, so I'm about to go. Oh, actually, I'm going to show
And
my
here's
character
your-
off.
yeah.
I don't know why I was wearing that outfit, but that's a wild ass outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
she's,
God.
like,
I
dope.
really
Make her
like her.
cowgirl,
She looks
please.
dope as hell, honestly. I don't know why I was
Your
just.
Slipknot mask, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's the dude from St. Lunatics who wore a mask?
Oh my god.
Slow Down.
Okay, yeah.
His name is Slow Down. So yeah, if you like to look like this, which I do, I'm a fan of this whole look. This game has that for you. There are also there's actually like a big shop that we were not allowed to capture footage from,
Right,
unfortunately, or use the captured footage from. But this is character customization, so.
Yeah, this one was fun. Did you name her?
I didn't because she's just like Rookie.
Rookie!
Her name's just like, oh yeah, Rook, like blah 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 blah. His fucking bomber jacket look is dope as hell. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I think I ended up just going with this like black denim.
Fits in here.
Yeah, that's
there's
pretty good.
yes.
I like it. Good fits.
There you go. Thank you. I have no idea what Far Cry Online is. There are all the things you can make because it's still a Far Cry game.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of craftables. Lots of statistics.
Challenges.
More of me being like, do I want to spend perk points on something? I don't know.
Oh, got a lot of perks. Sneaky sprint.
Yeah, Axelrod says that they said that the kind of AI systems look like there's a little bit more going on. It feels like a denser game than it did previously. Sorry, that was a person getting killed by an animal, and I was like, I gotta go, actually. I'm going this other direction. I'm not trying to get eaten by a hog or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it feels a little bit denser. I think, is the whole Jake sequence in here? That whole rolling gun thing?
I
In here?
think so.
Later?
How long have we been streaming?
20-some minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I believe I kept that in here.
Okay. If we didn't, that's fine. But if it is...
But this part is
This part is necessary. I'm
pretty
not-
cool. Yeah.
Is it?
Well,
We're about to meet, all right, so people who played Far Cry games try to remember Herc. He is a series regular, kind of a goofball. We're about to meet him and his dad, and I'm just going to be quiet
this part's pretty cool.
and let that happen. I also trade my presumably very good shotgun for this very boring shotgun because I like how it looks. I just like, it's like black and brown. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's good. It's good.
I don't know why I couldn't pick up this fishing pole because it was too close to a gun. I was gonna do some fishing, but I was just like, I guess I'll just keep playing the game.
I think you kept trying to get the fishing pole there.
Yeah,
sec.
for a little while, but it wasn't working.
I want to hang out in this cabin.
Yeah, it's a nice
For a
cabin.
hike.
But yeah, we're about to meet Herc's family, and his dad has some things to say.
Oh, he
Let's
sure
say.
does. Content warning for everything.
Yeah, again, content warning for sure. They think they're being very funny.
Are you ready?
Also, I think the audio is weird here, and this is just
Yeah.
in the capture. You'll hear the voices are at a weird register that are not in line with. So I was trying to read that note. Fucking rocking all the time.
Rocking all the
And
time.
back 7, I was like, all right, I gotta go, Herc. I'll be back, I guess. I'm gonna go talk to your dad.
He was running for senator.
Some bitch Dutch was going on back.
What is with the voice?
It's like bugged out. I told
The
you.
other voice is okay, but
Like,
this
what
one isn't.
episode of
All right, one
Gangland
second.
is
You have
this?
to watch this.
I need help of a different sort. Let's get to the point. You see that steaming pile of disappointment over there praying? That's my lawyer.
I was like, oh,
Let
him?
me get my fucking binoculars and check them out.
He takes after his
Just
mom.
snort loud.
Some bitch went and lost my campaign truck, Nancy. So
I cannot handle his voice.
He loves Nancy Reagan.
This fine country court. If them Obama-loving
There it is.
Oh.
There it is, friends.
I can kiss this Senate run
He's running for Senate.
Okay, so a character in this game is gonna say that, but there's no.
Well, like, that's the thing is like he's in this game so that if
Red-blooded American gun owner.
if you are a red-blooded American gun owner, you're like, that's my dude right there. And if you're like us, supposedly,
Yeah.
we're just like, man, fuck that guy. That guy sucks. Like he loves Nancy Reagan.
All right, we're live. We're live.
We're back.
Yep.
All right, we should.
I don't want to go on assuming nobody's gender or nothing. I mean, I don't mean no disrespect. I just call all my homies dude or bro or man, you know, regardless of vegetalia or penileness.
Vegetalia or penileness.
Deja voodoo, man. Have we...
This
have
is
we
Herc.
met
He's been in all the
before?
other games.
Dang, man, my prayers have been answered. I got a direct line to that sweet little monkey god who's already
Again, I think the voices are fucked because you'll hear his voice change in like 2 seconds.
It sounds like Gangland when they interview people who
Yeah,
don't want to be
100%.
heard.
Once this mission starts, you'll hear his voice drops like 3 registers.
But if we get it back, he'll let me sleep in my bed.
It also sounds like it's inside of a building or something, and
Yes.
it's not.
Cold outside. Never mind them wood ticks crawling all up in my junk, threatening me with Lyme disease and whatnot. So come on, man. Help me get my daddy's truck back.
We gotta get Nancy back.
See?
There it is.
Now he sounds like the
So
way
it
he's supposed
wasn't
to
a
sound.
frame rate thing, it was
No,
just
it's
that.
just a
I don't know
weird
what it
bug.
was.
It's an early release build again.
Yeah.
And you have to help him?
Oh yeah, we gotta be buddies now.
You have to.
Why?
That's this game.
Because he wants to impress his dad.
Right, like that's the thing. Like the thing the story they're trying to tell here is, you know Herc from previous games. He's your buddy. It turns out his dad is like an abusive prick, and so now you're gonna hang out with Herc, and you're gonna help him get back in the good graces of his daddy. And they're like, fuck off. I'm not interested actually.
And now he sounds like another
He
different
sounds-
person. Yep. Wait, what is hanging from the Is it just a little
it's just
flag?
I think it's just an American star flag.
When I tried to join them, I mean, it just seemed like a good idea.
It sounds different again.
All these guns.
I think this is just him.
Okay, all right.
Fine-ass females, and I mean, those are 3 things I'm really.
Oh,
He's really all about get ready. Get ready.
So I says, hey, amigos.
Call all my homies, bro or dude.
Uh-huh.
Sign up right here, friend. Then.
I mean, he was trying to be like,
Okay, let's
all their
we can drag him in a second.
all right.
No fornicating. Turns out that means fucking. No alcohol and no wild note and partying, man. No, thank you. So I got the fuckity fuck out of there, man.
Jake just has some thoughts in the background.
He's talking.
Got my daddy's truck. He's been real butt sore since, so gotta get that truck.
So yeah, what were you saying about?
I was just gonna say it seemed like her cared on one level about not disrespecting people's gender,
Yes.
That one covered.
but
also-
I don't know if Herc is all that woke. You know?
I don't think Herc is woke.
No.
Step 3 is, shit, I forget the rest, but
This is everything you learned in the cult. You can't fuck.
Oh my god. Fine ass females.
Boba Fett.
Fett was 1 T also. Which more like Fett Life than Boba Fett. It was 2
Exactly,
Ts.
Boba Fett. That's something else.
our office, he been coming down on me real hard about everything. About my public intoxication, how I handle my firearms, stuff like
Firearms.
that. But when we get his truck back from them Peggies, I'll be real impressed, dude. He's gonna love me so much. And then my mom's gonna have to try and love me more so she can compete with how much he loves me. And then he'll see how much she's loving me. And then he'll try and love me some more.
I should have hit the lean out button. I need to lean out right now.
Yeah,
You know
lean
what
out.
I'm saying?
Lean out of
Y'all, I
this.
gotta lean out.
You better ghost ride the whip.
I got
Now's
it.
the
Lean
time.
out of this.
God, there's actually a lot of footage of me doing that I think we probably cut.
is.
In which I kept trying to. So a thing you can do with co-op partners is give them ammo. When you look at them, you hold down like square to give them ammo.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to do it with Jeff while I was driving the car. It turns out holding down square is also how you get out of a car. So
Okay.
these times I was like, here, take this. And blah, I gotta get out. I just jump out the side of my car.
Oh, he's still talking. He's still with all them
Foreign
foreign.
prostitutes,
Yeah.
huh?
Just like
Okay.
my granddaddy
All right, bud.
did.
Yep.
You
And
know.
it is, like someone in the chat said like this is the worst late season Family Guy comedy.
Pretty much.
Where it's just like, oh yeah, I really want to be a goofball and like say shocking things. And the joke is like, oh, I'm such a bad person. It's like Cartman style show. Like,
Right.
oh, I'm not supposed to like him.
Right.
Ha 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 ha. But we've talked about this on the podcast before, and like That's like an alibi to let you laugh at shit that you want to keep laughing at, even though you know you shouldn't. And just like, it just doesn't sit great.
Oh, Herc. Okay, real question.
Yeah.
This Herc or season 1 of The Wire Herc?
This Herc. Season 1 from The Wire Herc is like a corrupt cop who like, it goes out of his way to screw over black folks.
Yeah.
This Herc.
Couldn't do that even if he tried.
Right, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
This Herc
Yeah,
would
he's
probably
incompetent.
He's incompetent. That's a big difference.
There you go.
Someone wants to know if Montana is just filled with ramps. Good question. Good question.
Been there. I do like the cut of your jib. That phrase is just a good phrase.
Mm-hmm.
I really do enjoy it. Yep. You're doing a lot of stealth here
Yep.
at this
I'm into
Firewatch
that.
tower.
I'm into like stealthily.
That guy.
How about this? How's this stealth for you? Got him.
He rolled over on his ass.
The shotguns feel really good. Like, again, like this is the dilemma with Far Cry, as it's been since 3.
They're fun.
Is like, it feels so good. Like the moment-to-moment combat is fantastic. Did we go down again? No? Yes? No? No, we're good?
No, you're just looking at your
okay, my
your
bad.
challenges here, I think.
I did a challenge by getting a shotgun kill. I don't know what that means. I think it means I unlocked the possibility for a new perk. Because I think they're tied to like successfully doing stuff.
Yeah. Folks are rightly pointing out the Firewatch-ness of this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Please don't kill Henry in there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there was a specific.
Oh, Jake!
There is. If we go back, actually, can we go back in the footage to when I first come into this tower, Natalie? Thank you.
Boop.
I think you actually have to use a mouse. Sorry.
Dilf Patrol says, always thought Firewatch could use guns and hobby-grade political
Yeah,
commentary.
that's fine. No. Forward. Yeah, here. This is fine. Because I think it happens. Maybe I'm wrong.
Is it right after you stop stealthing?
I thought it was. I think that there is an explicit Far Cry or explicit. Firewatch call out in here. Also, I just want to see me shoot this guy. Bam! What's good?
He rolls over
didn't see
on
that
his
shit.
butt.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it actually came after.
Is there something in the booth?
Yeah, it's something in here. That's why I'm now
Yeah.
thinking that maybe it was after. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that's literally like the room.
It is literally.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's also.
I think they both modeled it. Yeah, after the actual thing.
right.
But so yeah, it must have been after. My bad. Sorry for making you watch me just like really dramatically kill those fools again. Can you move them? Can you move the mouse again?
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. All right, yeah, it must be right after this.
Yeah,
My
I
bad.
think it's real soon. Because you do this outside stuff first.
Right.
and
I get shot to fuck by that guy.
There's some splinters.
I'm like, I gotta throw this knife. That's the way to handle this problem.
And here comes Jake.
Jake has
Wait,
my
where's
back.
that Kevin? That's Jake.
That's Kate. You're right. This is Kevin again.
Because we went, yeah.
Because we're now back to my single player.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this guy has like a bunch of armor on. Shit. Just Jones. Just Jones. Kevin Jones.
Not Kevin Jonas?
It's not
From
Jonas.
the Jonas Brothers?
It's not Kevin Jonas from the Jonas Brothers.
Oh,
Damn.
oh,
Sorry.
damn.
I know. I think he just said, I wasn't even aiming for the head, which is the worst thing you can say seconds after shooking someone in the head.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
See, it's ironic that he knows the theater, even though he's not that smart. So like,
And now it's time for step 4. Truck's actually all the way down yonder. Probably more Peggy's waiting for us. It's all about the zip line.
I just like thinking that everybody's name is Peggy. Their name is
their
Margaret.
name's just Peggy.
and it's
Margaret.
Peggy.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Maybe it wasn't here at all, but there is
thought
at
there
some point
was,
I found
yeah.
a letter that specifically calls out Delilah.
Yeah.
That's
I thought it was in here too.
Which is like
Sorry.
a weird little. That's fine.
There's a bunch of footage.
Yeah, there is a
And
lot
I
of
did-
footage.
Yeah, Firewatch made me want to go on vacation in Wyoming too.
Shoes off.
Laser Messiah says, I'm already sick of this dialogue, and I didn't even catch that last sequence that everyone was commenting on
Oh,
earlier.
it was a.
Oh yeah,
Special
you missed
one.
the big one. You missed the big one.
Oh my god, it was really rough.
I do want a vacation right here, though, without the guns.
It's very pretty.
Without the guns. Like,
yeah. You want the, like, Assassin's Creed Origins discovery mode.
yeah, but
for
also
this
be able
game.
to, like, jump and swim and
Right, and go
climb.
fishing
You can
and-
go fishing. I want to do the peaceful things here.
You don't want to get headshots. You don't want to get sick.
I mean, I
headshots,
won't mind
but-
that. I mean, I had my greatest moment in a Far Cry was when I 360 no-scoped an eagle.
Oh, right,
When I
I
was
recall this.
somewhat
Wow.
under the influence of something.
Damn.
And I played so much better than I ever do when I'm sober. I mean, that was my game for that. I'm not gonna
Wow.
lie, that
Oh,
was my
I see what
game
you're
for
saying.
that.
You say, oh, like at midnight.
Yeah.
Midnight
I
on a
see.
Saturday. I lived in San Francisco.
Smoking
I lived in
I
California.
think that's what she's talking
Playing a little
about. I think she's talking
I
about.
played Far Cry. I smoked a little something, you know. I got a 360 no scoped an
That
eagle.
sounds like gold.
If you like,
good.
you know what I'm saying?
It was good.
Damn, respect.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my friends.
If no one in video games says they smoke weed and play Far Cry, we're, you know, just
Lying to your
liars.
face.
Why are you lying?
Lying to your old face.
There was a bit in the interview I did with the director, which you can read on the site, Dan Hay, where I was like, hey, what did y'all think when people were like mad that you were doing a game set in America? Did that get to you? And he was like, I'd be lying if he has a really like deep voice, and he's like, he speaks in like a very serious cadence. He's like, I'd be lying if I told you it didn't get to us, and you'd call me on that, and you'd be right to. And I think that's what we have to say. If you're like, does anybody smoke weed and play Far Cry? We'd be lying if we said that no one did that, and you'd be right to call us a liar, actually. Someone says the environment looks really good. Again, and this is like 1080 footage that we were streaming out not at 1080. So,
yeah.
it's a really pretty looking game.
I'd be lying.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a good little command in there. I think.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Good
that's
added.
great.
That was a good. I'd be
Good.
lying.
Turret sequence on the back of a truck.
You know,
It's an action game.
it sure is.
Oh. Yeah, while Creedence Clearwater Revival plays, which means we're probably going to get a copyright strike, but that's okay.
probably.
It's fine. Maybe you won't be able to hear it over the loud gunfire.
New parking lot revealed. Helicopters. All
All right,
caps.
okay, so that's actually another thing about
Yeah.
the structure of this game. Before, again, you would climb a tower, and when you climb the tower, it would tell you where everything is around. Now, by talking to people, by reading signage, and by just discovering it in the world, it gets added. So, like, now I know where there are going to be helicopters that spawn in the open world. I can just come back to that spot. The same thing happens with hunting. If you just like see a deer in the wild, you see a couple of them, it gets added to your map, and it's like, oh, this is where deer are. And that's such an improvement over
Yeah.
the way it used to go.
Yeah, that was really
no
nice.
towers, 0 towers, 100% 0 towers. I just aced that fucking helicopter.
I want to
Fuck
shoot
out.
some
did.
helicopters down. That
Yeah.
That's what I'm
stuff looks
saying.
fun.
That's what I'm saying. I think that
Like shooting the cars and the
Yes.
helicopters. That shit looks real fun.
yeah,
And in this beautiful place.
right.
Clutch Nixon.
So that was another one, right? A stunt action. I don't know what it
Stunt
was that I
activities,
just saw,
yeah.
but something in the open world was tied to this guy who is like their Evil Knievel named Clutch Nixon, and there are just a bunch of like stunts that you can go try to do, stunt activities. And so like one of them that I've seen in other footage was like a plaque that says, "This is where Clutch Nixon did, you know, his incredible such and such stunt," and then like okay, that adds it to your map that way. And so it's a lot more organic in terms of leading you from place to place. You also notice there's no mini map in this game, which is the
Yeah.
first in a while.
Yeah.
There's like the Skyrim style, PUBG style
that
top compass instead.
Yeah.
Nancy's back. I got her back. Your son. Look at it.
Dumber than a box of shit.
See, I don't want to think that this guy just saying you're dumber than a box of shit is funny after all the shit he
Hilarious.
just said.
Yeah, exactly.
Proof that
Exactly.
You can't look after shit.
So that's the footage we have. Do we have the Jake video also? Can we just load that up? Can you come back
Load
to
it?
us
Yeah.
really quick?
I have that in a drive.
It's also just on YouTube. You just go to
on
YouTube.
YouTube.
and
oh yeah, we
should-
can just
should-
look at it on there if you want.
So on that computer, just go to YouTube. Do I want to what?
No, just open
Yeah, we're
YouTube.
fine.
Because we'll do full screen.
No, we're gonna be fine. I'm gonna
Full
live like
screen the
this.
YouTube.
We're only gonna be here for like 20 seconds. It's
Full
fine.
screen the YouTube.
Full screen that YouTube.
But I do want to talk through just like this
YouTube,
one, or
yeah.
not even talk through it, but one of my favorite moments was this really wild
I have it in a drive
action
link
sequence.
too. If you really want it.
Yeah, but it's right there, so
All right,
we may
that's
as well
fine.
just bring it up here. And mute it also, because otherwise it'll be weird, because I'll be talking over me talking, and that's no good.
Yeah.
Someone says it's really juvenile and shallow, so.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do it. That was the wrong one. That was you unmuted it. Hey everyone, this is Austin. You did.
Oh.
That's me. Hey everyone, this is Austin Walker.
Hey everyone, it's Austin
I
Walker.
pulled the script up, I can just do it live, but
There you go.
there we go. So you've seen this part of the footage already. That is Jess. She's Jess. We've done this whole bit already. So here's some other footage of Jake just acting a complete fool, which is extremely good.
It's very good.
You'll see him running in the blue shirt mysteriously right there.
There he is. He had a really hard time getting into the car.
Well, okay, so this car is a two-door car, but it has a back seat. So I kept being like, I'll move up the seat, Jake, hop in. In this case, he stole our car. Jeff set a waypoint, and he was driving us to the waypoint, and so he just like,
He stole the car.
he just left without Jeff. Like, Jeff's like, where are you guys going?
Jeff is running alongside the car, trying to keep up.
I gotta go.
And Jake is just driving. He's saying things like, yeah, a lot of quotes.
Yeah.
All right, now.
So this sequence picks up right after we fought the cook.
Yes.
We were like driving away. We're on our way to another mission. We're about to be told that we have to go talk to, like, do our interviews and shit. And we're like, all right, what are we gonna do next? I don't know what we're gonna do next.
If you want to hit the volume in a second.
It's fine. It's
all
such
right.
like a.
It's just a. See, all right, I really.
It's fine.
Right here.
That was Jake trying to catch up
He
with us.
Sonic rolled.
And just like mysteriously rolled towards us.
Can we see that one more time?
Yeah, can we just go back like?
All right, we did it in normal time, and then we slow motioned it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the verb.
That should be
of course.
good.
But he
No,
does
back
a
further.
Sonic the Hedgehog roll.
All right, you're good.
Yeah, just watch for that.
Sparkletone says, "I love Jake. Me too.
Jake the Hedgehog.
Jake, you know what? You know who should be senator? Jake.
Yes, he should. All right, so he's trying real hard to get in the car.
He's trying to catch up with us.
And boom!
And then just crashes into us at
There it
full
is, there it
speed.
is.
What is he doing?
Boom!
I
An
can't believe he
explosion.
did the M. Bison Psycho Crusher.
All right, and
Hashtag
then
Jake Nation. Thank you, Dilf Patriot.
he figured out how to get in the car there, I think.
No, he's still behind us. He's not with us still.
oh,
Because we're still in this two-door car.
That's right. It's
And
until the
then
pickup truck. He doesn't figure it
This
out.
whole sequence is so wild to me because of the density of action that happens. So again, that's Jeff Bacalar in the passenger seat. We learned about the moose hunting spot, as you can see. And then we keep driving, and we start hearing gunfire.
And there's a bear.
And there's a bear, mysteriously,
He ate that man.
eating a man. And then the bear keeps running. And there's this fight that breaks out up here that is just, it just keeps going.
I can see those PUBG tactics.
Oh yeah, get ready. You're gonna see all my great PUBG tactics right here. Watch while I just get shot in the fucking face 3 times. I'm like, I don't know, where should I go? I'll climb on this truck. I'll use a med kit. Things are looking real bad right now. And then, so there's Jeff again, and then in the distance, that's Jake. That's Jake.
Jake is getting
and
run over by a
he's getting
wolf.
chased by a giant wolf, which, as you see in the bottom left,
He got in the car.
he gets in the car instead of fighting the wolf, and I'm like, Jake, why are we even paying you? And then he told me we weren't paying him, so
And then he got out, though.
he got out, he kills the wolf. I'm like, oh, we need another place for Jake to sit. So we get into an actual pickup truck finally. There's a rando who I was gonna get out and talk to, but he seems scared.
There he is.
Yeah, Jake's in the back now. Our truck crashes. People drive by on an ATV. Our truck is on fire.
On fire.
I'm on fire. I'm bleeding. Put out fire. I have no health, which you can see in the bottom right. I'm like, oh, I gotta kill these guys. That's more important than healing. Managed to kill them. Run up. You know what? That guy might not have been a cultist. I'm not 100% sure if he was.
I can't believe you killed an innocent.
I pick up this gun. I'm about to get a sick headshot. Get ready. Spoilers.
Oh.
I'm like, yo, I'm gonna line that shit up. Got him.
Got him.
Very important. And then another really bad animation. Get ready.
Oh!
And it's just like, I don't know. These games are normally very polished when it comes to
Mind
things like
freak.
animation.
Every time something like that happens, I need to
Yeah.
hear mind freak.
Exactly.
This is how you repair a car. You put
All right,
sparks on
to
it.
be fair, in Far Cry 2, you repaired a car by taking a wrench and just like turning a knob inside of the engine, and that just made it happen. So this is a really fun.
So Jake figured out how to get in a car that
the
time.
funniest thing.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, it's so fucking funny.
He figured it out.
He figured it out. We get to keep moving.
But there's one last thing. There's one last moment
Listen,
here.
Jake has to celebrate,
Jake,
which is why he's dancing.
you spin me right round,
He's
baby.
doing a good
You
dance.
spin me right round.
There's like narration to that
Jake.
video, which you can find over on YouTube. So that's our Far Cry 5 stuff. You can go back to the original video and just put it on in the background, and we'll talk a little
So
bit.
there's I want to read this comment from our YouTube, actually, from the video. How come Far Cry 5, a game about Christian extremism and gun violence in the rural U.S., doesn't seem to be incorporating anything about Christian extremism in the rural U.S. and is just reskinning Far Cry 4 with country music and the exact same topographical patterns as their maps from outside the U.S.?
We probably shouldn't say that they have the exact same topographical shit yet, because there's a lot to those maps that we haven't necessarily seen yet. So I'm like cautious about. I'm always cautious about claims that we can't prove. Natalie is putting lights on me.
It looks so bad. I'm sorry.
It's fine. This is why you're a production expert. I'm always cautious about that because it gives the people that you're criticizing an alibi to disregard your actually relevant and on point issue, which is what I think is true about the race thing, right? And I think what happened here.
I'm just gonna play it in the
Yeah, go ahead and play it in the
low
background.
audio.
That's fine, with low audio. So for me, the thing that's wild about this is like, when they first pitched this game to me, to like the group of people at the pre-E3 Judges Week, so much of that pitch was about economic uncertainty. So much of it was about the kind of like people who want to break off from traditional American space and go off into the woods and live as militiamen and live as survivalists and live as preppers. So much of it was about spaces and groups that are contemporarily and historically tied to white nationalism and white supremacy movements. In the time since that original pitch, the pitch has shifted to be way more about traditional cults, to be way more about, in the interview I bring this up with Dan Hay, the game director, who I say like, hey, why is it that in real life, a lot of contemporary cults and extreme evangelical movements have a serious sort of like serious issues of segregation at the very least, and white supremacy at the most. And his response was like, well, our main inspiration. He said, well, I'm an older person, he said, and because I'm older, I think about cults as being from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which is when there was this real notion of inclusivity, which if you look at like Heaven's Gate, that's true for sure. And of course, this is called the Project at Eden's Gate, and so they're very clearly taking some steps there. Yeah. But that's not true if you look at Charles Manson. That's not true if you look at Waco. It's not true. There are older instances where racial purity and racial segregation came through, and that's also true for Christian, but kind of Christian evangelical extremist groups, whether those groups are militias or are cults, and like or new religious movements or whatever you want to call them, right? Like there are serious issues there, and it's very frustrating that that shit isn't being dealt with. It feels, like I say in the piece, it feels like they're hedging, like they don't want a game where you kill white nationalists, and that was so much of the initial. The initial pitch wasn't you go kill white nationalists, but it was on the edges of that pitch.
Right.
And to see them back away from it by the time they made their actual debut at E3 was very much like it was very weird, especially because most of that content was already made. I'm not saying that they changed the game between that initial pitch. I'm saying that initial pitch was built for an audience that was eager to hear that pitch, and that pitch changed to reflect what is in the game, which is way less to do with those sorts of extremist groups that have ties to white nationalism. So
I'm reading. Well, I'm not. I'm going through the original piece you wrote. The Far Cry 5 is about living under fear in America. Yeah, the pressure one.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you were much more hopeful in writing this, that they would actually tackle some stuff.
I was hopeful, and I'm still curious, because I know that these games are made by groups of people, and because I played Far Cry 4, and I don't think Far Cry 4 did a perfect job by any means. but I think that there were moments at which it got at some actual political idea, which was about the stress between if you want to achieve political change, if you want to have a revolution and really substantially change the shape of things, to what degree do you need to stand by your guns, stick by your guns, and like be a moral absolutist, and to what degree do you have to be a moral pragmatist? And that came up in lots of really interesting different ways throughout that game, in which you had a character who really wanted to kind of reform the culture of Kirat was the name of the fictional place,
it was.
I believe, who like wanted to keep traditional gender roles in place, who wanted to keep certain traditional ideas about morality or around where they got their money from in place. And then you had a character who was like much more radical, who I sided with, who was like, fuck all that. But even then, there were moments where it was like she was, for instance, that character was fine if you let the old temples be destroyed, because she was like, fuck the old religion, it's bad. And the other character was like, this is our history, this is our, we can't let this person who is not really tied to our shit destroy our old temples. And those ideas, at the very least, showed in Far Cry 4 an interest in pushing the series towards dealing with some more complex ideas. Even though it's also a series where like you fly a helicopter around and drop Molotov cocktails out of it on people. And so I was hoping that they would bring that same, at least that level of dedication to this. And we'll see. Again, I played for 3 hours. I'm probably going to put 20 or 30 hours into this as I review it. That's a lot of time for them to have really cool stuff.
Right.
But it's not a Far Cry game. It's not the new God of War, which seems like it wants to recontextualize what even the series is to begin with.
I wonder how much of it might be, there might be a quest in this game that actually is like, oh, this is interesting, they're saying something here with this, but then the overall game is just like
still,
wishy-washy, kind of Ubisoft-ish.
Totally. Wonderworld says, it's like these are real issues coming up in the world. Religious and far-right extremists aren't just ambitious figures in the shadows anymore. They're really out here, and presenting it as almost cartoonish is a very odd choice. It's like afraid to be challenging. So I actually want to push back against that a little bit, not because it's wrong, but because that's also true for everything in previous Far Cry games except for Far Cry 1.
Yeah.
There have been civil wars in Africa. There have been conflicts in the Pacific, in which the Far Cry 3 fucking sucks for a lot of reasons, but one of the core conflicts there is it's literally outsiders coming in to colonize and take over a tribal culture. And I don't think they handle it well in any way, but that's like a real thing that happens. And the conflict in Far Cry 4 is very clearly drawn from real conflicts in that part of the world, and no one ever wrote a fucking editorial that said like, these issues are too serious to make a Far Cry game about, because they don't care. Because like the people who write those sorts of editorials played through those games and didn't ever see a politics to them, didn't ever see that they were also aestheticizing real political conflict that was happening in the world. And so it's really frustrating to see people say, oh, now that it's in America, these issues are too real. Because there's a subtext to that that's involuntary that means that the past issues were somehow fair game. And so I don't know, like I think a version of this that actually engaged on this shit would really make a mark and show that like a big game can actually tackle that stuff in a way that means something, especially coming off of Wolfenstein last year, which its whole premise was America's always been fucked. Like America in that world has not been converted by fascists by force, but through a rhetoric and an alibi that appealed to a strain of authoritarianism and fascism that already ran through American blood. And so like we saw the blueprint. We saw it could be done in this space, not perfectly. New Colossus isn't a perfect game, but
There's no such thing.
Right. But and I think it bumbles some other stuff, but like I think that there is, I mean, Hay even says it in that interview with me, right? He says like, I think games can at least try to do more, but you can hear him say that like in the text you can see that he's even kind of walking it back a little bit and like doesn't want to overcommit because he knows he's making a Far Cry game, and it's a bummer. Any other questions here?
Let me see if we have any on Twitter.
Oh yeah, check Twitter.
We've kind of touched on this, and again, you only got to play like 3 hours, but is there literally any acknowledgement of white supremacy, colonialism, etc.?
I mean, I think that honestly, the closest we've seen is Herc's dad, right? Who is like, who descends from that history, but not inside of the cult. The cult is, and we don't see it here really, but it's multi-ethnic. One of the first characters you see in like that's near Joseph Seed is like a black dude who's clearly, you know, I don't know if he's actually a main character or not, but he was in the church with Joseph Seed. Like the entire cult compound is multiracial. And that, again, speaks to their desire to have a multi-ethnic. The pitch here is that Joseph Seed believes that the end days are coming and that we have to prepare for it and we have to get ready, and he wants to save as many people as possible. That is the pitch. The thing is that historically those pitches often actually come with, whether explicitly or not, certain sorts of structural categorizations that happen that emphasize on who exactly gets to be saved. And obviously no one's being saved. These people are wrong about the end of the world coming. I mean, maybe not in this game. Maybe this game ends with the end of the world coming, and that would be a very Far Cry thing to do, right? For there to be a huge earthquake at the end, or like a volcano erupts, and it turns out that the Ice Age is back.
Turns
or
out
something.
both sides should die.
Right, exactly. But I guess the point there is just like, I feel like, I don't know. It's just it's very frustrating to see the potential here and to see them not necessarily follow through on that, because in this one specific place they could have been like, oh, actually the cult is a white supremacist cult and we shouldn't feel bad about wanting to fight white supremacists, or like, I don't know.
But instead we're like going to pick up a truck for this like racist like,
yeah, shithead.
How much does Ubisoft afraid of 200 people on Reddit, I guess, is what this becomes, right? Like,
I don't know. And also, I mean, so someone in the chat says, how can a game have a coherent message when 400 people made it? Ubisoft seems to overdevelop everything. I mean, those, 350 of those people had nothing to do with the story department, you know, at all. 350 of those people made that plant, and worked on small systems design and stuff like that. I'm specifically talking about and to a story team here, and I know that there is talent at Ubisoft Studios who has wanted to explore different things in the past. I've spoken to those people over the years. Some of them aren't there anymore. Some of them have moved on to other projects. Some of them are working on small things there. But there is a group of people inside of any major studio who have aspirations to make something really great and really new. But, I mean, what you're maybe getting at, it's not just that there's the 400 people. It's that Ubisoft is trying to appeal to as broad a base as possible, to a base that includes people who go like, wait a second, I believe in faith, freedom, and firearms, and wants to, like, I've said this again in the piece, like, they just come across as super defensive. The whole intro is about this prepper, is about this doomsday prepping cult and how scary they are, and then the dude who saves you from them is a doomsday prepper, and like, not all preppers, I get it.
Not all preppers.
But like, it just feels so unwilling to commit to any of their own shit. I don't know.
I feel like if the story took a firmer hand, in making this more about fighting against like white supremacists, for example, then I would probably be fine with like this generic,
right.
These like generic scenarios and stuff, but.
Because that's what happened with New Colossus, right? Which was like, no one left that Wolfenstein game feeling like it was a particularly great shooter.
Yeah.
But people were really excited by the ambition of its story, the directness of its story, the completely like wild moments in that game, and that's why I'm still holding out a little bit of hope here, which is like, I can imagine there being some really great quest design. This stuff is not it, but this stuff is me recruiting 2 NPCs to join with me. It's not going on to take the cult, which you saw me getting resistance points. The way that works is, so we didn't talk about this at all, as that bar fills up because you helped out the hashtag resistance, you eventually, 2 things happen. One, the apostles, the top lieutenants, begin to push back, and the districts that they control, the kind of 3 main zones, get different kind of enemies and stuff in them. So like at one point it's not in this footage, but we rescued a bear or something, I don't fucking know, And it was like, oh, the judges have been sent against you now. He's activated the judges, which are a special class of enemy, which I think is that big wolf. I think that big wolf was a judge, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just it's wild to me that they're also calling it like experience points, resistance points, when like
points.
normally you would think that you are resisting like fascists and
You're resisting the cult.
Yeah.
Everybody can come together and resist the cult. It's weird, and like it has so much potential to go wrong. There's so many characters we have not met here, right? We talked about how. So again, during my interview with them, one of the things I brought up was like, hey, one of the things that you see in stories like this a lot is how people from disparate backgrounds come together to try to fight against a common foe and have to overcome their differences, blah, blah, blah. What's that look like here? Are those differences clear? And so his example, Dan Hay again, was like, in the Southwest region, you have everyday people who are like, oh, this is a bartender, and she teams up with this Catholic priest, and like both of them have firsthand seen and felt the loss of people they love being hurt by this cult. And then in the North, you have the whitetail militia, and it's like, all right, I did not meet the whitetail militia, but if there's like straight up a Patriot style, 3%er style, like Oathkeeper style militia in this game that are good guys, I'm gonna be fucking bummed. And there's a chance they will because the boogeyman here isn't just like white supremacy. It isn't just anti-government militias like Cliven and Ammon Bundy's, the ones that had the standoffs in Nevada and then Oregon a couple of years ago. It is specifically this doomsday cult. And there's like other stuff here where it feels like they knew better in a weird way. In the interview, I talked with Mia Donovan, who's a director. She's a documentarian. She made this film called Deprogrammed. And one of the things that she got to, one of the big things that she explained was like, cults aren't about mind control, right? For years, there was this notion of deprogramming people who went into cults. And her film kind of pushes back on that and digs into the pushback against the deprogramming movement, because the revelation of contemporary studies of these groups is that there's no brainwashing. Brainwashing is a thing we tell ourselves because it's easier to deal with than the notion that someone we love, someone who we think of as being smart and capable, would be taken in by a group like this who means to do them harm. And that they may even have positive experiences in those places, so far from us, so far removed from society. And she's like, again, I was speaking with Mia, and she was like so smart about all of this. And then minutes after that, they took us to go watch this new Amazon short film that sets up some of the action.
Live action.
It's a live action Far Cry 5 short film called like Inside Project, the Project at Eden's Gate. And I'm not gonna diss like the quality of the movie. Like, it's hard to make movies, I'm sure. I don't know shit about making movies. But one of the main plot points is like, there's a moment where they're literally like pouring green chemicals into water and like baptizing people into it, and they come out and they're like all brainwashed. Like, oh, they've lost all of their ability
what happens
to
when you
think for
get
themselves.
slimed on the Nickelodeon Awards.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what
Immediately
happens. You get
brainwashed.
brainwashed. Now you report to Mark Summers. Mark
Can't say
Summers
that on television.
is your cult leader.
Like ruins the whole
God.
Right.
ideology. Like
Right. Her whole point was like, the quote that she gave me was like, cults don't just exist and exert their control in physical spaces. They exist inside of your brain, and not through brainwashing, but through like language, through doing the tactic she brought up was like love bombing, which is like showering you with attention.
You like people get adapted and
Right.
yeah.
And so like, but in the short film, which again, and also actually, again, not in this footage, but one of the things you go to blow up as this open world activities are these shrines, which are like mini churches that inside are just pumping out this chemical that gets you all woozy when you're near it. And it's like, y'all, you introduced me to the consultant who told me that that's not how cults work. So, and I
this is
get
a
it.
game about cults.
So like, pick your poison a
So
little
is that
bit.
going to be in the? Is
That's
that
what
how
I'm
it
saying
happens
is,
in the game?
That's what, like, so I haven't seen any of the druggy stuff that's in the game. These
Right.
games always have like wild drug sequences ever since 3.
Yeah.
So there's going to be that stuff in here. But what I did see again is these shrines that pump out this green gas that looks a lot like looks a lot like the chemical that was in the short film.
Okay.
Out tomorrow.
So how that sounds to me like such a problem of miscommunication within like the teams responsible for different aspects of the game, and it feels like I don't want to armchair game design or anything, but how the hell can you have absolute opposite? You know what I mean? Like can you get your message straight a little bit?
That
like,
again, I mean, that's
frustrating.
The person who said that 400 people, you know, like
Yeah.
There are big teams, and there are ways in which I can imagine a game like this being designed around really broad. We're talking about player experience goals, right? And my suspicion
story
is
experience goals. I don't know, like
what I'm
something like
going to
that.
say is, like, I think this is an instance where that core player experience goal of like having a fun time is probably the thing that was made king over everything else,
Right.
and like to everything else's detriment, in a way that was not. I think we're going to see a lot of takes over the next month, and especially as reviews come out, about the incongruity between tone and content and like open world nonsense action. Here comes Jake again, right? Like
there he is.
What are you going to do?
It's hard not to love Jake.
It's hard not to love
like,
Jake.
this
it
is
is
wonderful.
hard,
You know, like that part's fun, and then it's like.
Yeah.
It just kind of boggles my mind a little bit because, again, we keep harping on this, but 4 did a better job with that kind of thing.
And again, 3
it's
hours.
not perfect. It's not perfect.
But again, in 3 hours, like
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm like covering my ass with that, and to some degree I am. But I genuinely hope to come back in 4 weeks or whatever and be like, yo, I really love Far Cry 5. And I mean, there's a chance I will really like it and also have a bunch of problems with it. But I'm hopeful that there will be stuff here that really surprises me. That is, sometimes a game like this comes out, and what I have to do as a player is find my own way inside of it, and like find my own path or my own like joy to take from it. So long as it doesn't fall all the way into like shitty alt-right territory. And I don't think it's doing that. I think it's just milquetoast. I think it's just like unwilling to say anything politically, and that's like shitty and is
great.
frustrating. But and it contributes in a broad sense to the belief that games shouldn't or can't deal with this stuff. But it isn't like aggressively evil. So we'll see. I don't know. I think that's probably. It's a flamethrower. There's a cool flamethrower chat.
I'm really curious to see how they like designate who they like, because like there is like an exclusivity to like cult making. Like you have to also designate who you don't want to be a part of this society. And so kind of what you were talking about earlier, I'm really interested to see how they outline, or if they do like outline who is not welcome to be
besides
part
you.
of this, a part of this, aside from like people who have already like had people who've already committed actions against, or actions like, of like
obviously we're fighting against them, but you're like, of the civilians in Hope County, who doesn't get invited, who doesn't get to come inside.
That's what I'm really
and there are other ways for which the thing that kind of frustrates me is I think there are ways that they could have had their cake and eaten it also too, by the way, is, for instance, sometimes you ask a question and you're like, I wonder what they're going to say. And sometimes you're like, oh, I wonder if they're going to be this line. And the line that I expected to my question about race was, you'll notice that there are black people and people of color and, of multiple genders throughout the cult, but the leadership is predominantly white dudes. And that's like the answer that I expected to get. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's like, I see what you did there. Because that's true. Like when you look at, so I just finished listening to Heaven's Gate, a podcast on Stitcher that's hosted by Glenn Washington, and he was saying that he grew up in an evangelical cult, a doomsday cult, an evangelical doomsday cult. And his family, he was a black family, it was like one of only a few black families in the entire cult across the country. And even though they were allowed, there was still stratification. There was still this notion that like that black people were lower on the food chain. They were lower. They were less valuable as people. They were not just cursed, but marked. They had the mark on them in a way that Caucasian and Asian members of the church did not. And one of the rules was you had to date inside of your race. And so as like a teenager in this cult, he couldn't date anybody because there weren't other black people around. His only option, and the thing that the girl that people kept trying to set him up with, lived like 3 counties away, and she was biracial and was trying to get herself reassigned her race. She was trying to get there's a word I'm looking for here, but like recategorized as white. And the story that he tells is wild because he's like, she took a photo that was like extra bright, and they brightened it up as much as they could, and they sent it in so that they would say that she was white, and then she got to be white, which meant like, all right, like he literally can't socialize with anybody anymore at his age group. And it's like, but also black people were welcome. So like, yes, cults can be inclusive in that way, but can also.
Aren't cults historically primarily white?
It's
though?
I think it's messier than that. So like, not really. Like cult is a really broad word.
Even with Heaven's Gate, like
Mostly white folks.
Yeah.
But Heaven's Gate very specifically was not about supremacy. It was like this very interesting blend of sci-fi shit and
Please
like,
don't start talking like you're describing like a new game that's being released. It was this really interesting blend of like,
It's like
sci-fi
Dark Souls
shit.
Meets.
Oh my
It's
god.
like Prey meets. But like yes, there are cults that have been. Historically, they've been both ways. But the specific like signals that this one sends, a lot of the kind of symbols of the signs, a lot of the marginalia around this, a lot of the ways in which it's coded are coded like white supremacy groups in America. And that is where it's like, y'all should have dug in on this. And it wouldn't, I don't think it would have cost them that much.
Right.
Like, Mafia 3 didn't do the numbers that this game obviously would like to do, but like, you know what was dope was like killing a bunch of KKK dudes and rescuing slaves in Mafia 3. It's frustrating that we live in a world in which, I don't know, like it's really, I do my best not to talk about intention because I know what it's like to be inside of a system that has limits on what your intention is. I can imagine there being people at the studio who are like, yes, we should have had fucking like super white supremacists there.
Yeah.
And some asshole in France said no.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And like, that sucks
No
if that's the
question.
case. So if you're in that situation, shout outs, keep hustling. Good luck.
Send us an anonymous
Send
letter.
us an anonymous letter.
We'd love to hear
Yeah,
it.
I've heard some shit here and
Yeah,
there
yeah,
about
of course.
the history of this game.
Of course.
And so like yes, I have heard that there was a time when this game was going to be a little bit more like really going to tackle this stuff head on, and things got shuffled, and that happens.
Here comes the infamous line.
Here it comes
Obama
again.
11. Yep.
There it is.
If they find out,
There it is.
kiss
Can't
this
hear it
Senate
'cause
run.
I have it so low.
That's
fine.
good.
And
That's,
there's
you know
captions.
what? That's good. Actually,
It's better to not. It's better to not. It's just better.
Sorry, I said Glenn Washington before. I meant Glenn. It is Glenn Washington. Thank you for
There was a
fixing
question
that, Fox here.
that I saw. It's a pretty pertinent question. Just if your character, is there anything told to you about who your character is? Are they a federal agent or something who's infiltrating?
You are a
Or
rookie in the county sheriff's department.
I see. Okay.
You're like a probie. You're probational.
Right.
Like it's your first like mission out or whatever.
Okay.
But you're with the county sheriff. You are like in a helicopter at the beginning, going down to the compound, and it's filled with like the current county sheriff. It's like 3 other NPCs. It's a U.S. Marshal, like a veteran officer who seems like she knows where she's not the top, but she knows what's going on. And then there's like the sheriff, and you get separated.
Okay.
And so of course you're gonna go rescue them, probably. Down
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right?
Right.
There was Herc trying to be inclusive right there. Herc was trying to.
He was doing his best.
He was doing his best. He respects all genders, no matter what your
No matter what.
identity is. Herc is fine to be your
link.
bro.
Laser Messiah says, I feel like they changed that from the initial pitch. I remember the main character being a marshal as well. I like the initial, anything that had changed between the initial pitch and now is probably pretty minimal because of the way these games are made.
Yeah.
Like
This
by
has
the
probably
time
been in
this-
development for 5 years.
Yeah, by the time this game, I mean, he originally pitched it. This is the other thing about this, and this is why, like, when I speak to them, I'm not like, so tell me about how Trump influenced, because like, this game he's been pitching since 2008 or 2009 or something.
Right.
He originally, who like conceived of the basic concept, was pitching it internally at Ubisoft as being about the financial crisis. Like the reason he was looking at doomsday preppers
Interesting.
and shit was about like, oh, the trust in the government has fallen apart. The
Right.
trust in society is falling apart. This is about the 2008 financial crisis and about how the appeal of groups that saw the end times coming and the lack of social cohesion and So like a little more Tea Party era,
Right.
less Trump era. So it's not like there's no overlap.
Oh,
there.
yeah, of course.
But like, because he's been open about that being the pitch, there's always going to be this thing of like, oh well, this idea has been ruminating inside since well before Trump stepped into the limelight as a political figure. So it's like one of those things where sometimes you get used to knowing exactly what walls and shields they can put up in an interview, and so you want to find a way to get people to talk about why they made the thing that they made, what was the intention, and that often is a little bit more enlightening and can still get them to say some shit that like makes you go like really, but also gives them the opportunity to at least speak a little bit about how they got to where they got.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Maybe.
I was just gonna ask. The protagonist doesn't talk, right?
Not as
at
far
all?
as I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah. They've gotten away from that. So the protagonist for Far Cry 3 fucking sucked. I know Danika, you didn't play that game. It was a guy named Jason Brody, who was like a white dude,
Brody.
like broy.
Oh.
The opening to Far Cry 3 sets up a game that should have been the coolest shit because it's just this shitty crew of like hipsters going on vacation to like the Pacific Islands and just being, not hipsters is the wrong word, they really are just like frat bro.
Fratties.
Who are just the worst, and they get like separated and kidnapped and lectured about being shitty, and also Paper Planes plays during it. It's really fucking good.
Sure.
But because you only had the one pro tag, that's probably why you had the voice.
Oh, yeah,
In this,
yeah.
you get
Yes,
to like
yes.
choose.
Yeah, and also that dude turned out to be like the whitest savior, like the white saviorist character trope. It was really bad.
There was a voice in 4.
Yeah,
he was
your
voiced.
Ajay.
Is this the first game where you get to choose?
Yes.
Like
you make
choose...
for the first time you've ever made your own character.
Cool.
In 2, you could choose your character, but they were pre-built characters. It was like 10 different dudes. They were like international mercenaries. None of them were white dudes from America. There was the American dude was native, I believe, was First Nations, but otherwise like people from Ukraine, people from Ireland, people from India, like. So you could choose your character,
But
you
they
couldn't-
had voices built in.
They had like very light voices. They
Yeah.
like sounded different when they got hurt, and they had voices because they were 2 is such a good game.
Yeah.
The character you didn't play as in 2, all the other characters were just in the world as NPCs, like
Oh, shit.
either
Which is
on
cool.
your side or against you.
Yeah.
And so they all have voices.
Right.
They all have voice actors and shit.
Cool.
Several bats notes that because this game is fully co-op, that's probably like, hey, it's your voice. You're talking to your friend or whatever.
This game just makes me want to go for a hike. It just makes me want to go to the Pacific Northwest and just hike everything.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Just go for hikes.
Maybe the thing to do, if it's supposed to be like about, because that financial, like the 2008 financial crisis and that whole those had natural progressions into
To where we're at.
where we're at today. So maybe like if the thing you want to do here is distance yourself from that, is environmentally coding this game in a way that is obviously 2008.
Right, but even then, I still think you would have run into the same thing. Or like the question that if I had more time with Hay, like the interview I read, I thought it was gonna be really short, and then I looked at it today. It was like 3,000 words. I was like, oh shit, we got a lot in like a 15-minute conversation. But if I could go back now, the thing that I would ask was like, okay, well, if you're basing this on culture from the 70s and 80s, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, why not set it in that time period? Like 1980s Montana would have been really interesting as a setting.
And consumable in 2018.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
making
of
like
course.
setting a game in like 2008, 2010 and releasing it in 2018 I think is a little bit more
It's
complicated.
a little bit tougher to communicate that. I'm excited for that generation of games to come out. Like,
Right.
I'm excited for the financial crisis games to start hitting, because that moment of technology and culture is really fascinating. Like Twitter in 2007 versus now. You know? I remember when all of us had lives where we weren't just like miserable on Twitter.
Vaguely.
But yeah, I don't know.
Somebody in chat earlier made the very funny comment of like, the game's about the financial crisis, Night in the Woods and Far Cry 5. Like,
But again, it's not about the financial crisis, right? Or if it is,
I think
only
they were
in a secondary
saying
way.
it in
Yeah, I want to be
jest,
clear.
but-
I want to make sure that that didn't come across like that's what I was saying.
it was something that paved the way for
Right.
the pitch itself.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Kentucky Route Zero actually may be the best game
Yeah.
about the financial crisis. It's been coming out since then.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Well,
I think that
coming
might do
out
it
in
for
3
us.
weeks, so
Yeah,
I guess we'll all know
this is
soon.
the thing that's so strange for me is like, I know what it is now, right?
yeah.
And I'm still excited to play it. I'm just not excited for the reasons I hoped I would be excited. I had a ton of fun playing this, both single player and with Jeff, especially with Jeff. Like
Jeff and Jake.
Jeff and Jake. With Jeff, my buds, Jeff and Jake. It was a really good time to just like play through this stuff with somebody else in a way that I've never done co-op with any of the Far Cry games before, but I would like to do some of it with this because I just had a really good time. I love the physics model. I think that the new setup for how you find new missions and explore and stuff is like such a huge improvement over the past games. I look forward to these games even though I've been so upset with them. And this style of open world first-person shooter, the way that some people I think look forward to sports games, to Assassin's Creed games, to third-person like character action games, like this is one of my genres in terms of like things I like to see people, things I like to play, and so I'm still very excited about it in that way. I'm just also like I don't have any of the hope that they will stick the landing on the story side stuff, which maybe it's going to be good for it. Like maybe at the end of the day, I'll be surprised by it, but happily surprised by it instead of disappointed. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
This does make me want to play 4 again. It's definitely a thing that's happening.
Uninvincible says, "Yeah, I'm pretty excited that I'll no longer ruin the experience for myself because of the typical map icon garbage."
Yeah.
The thing that used to happen again, like in Horizon, when you climb the tall necks in Horizon,
Yeah.
and they add all those icons, it was like that, but like times 1,000. Like by the end of Far Cry 4, my map was just like, I can't even fucking see anything. There's
Yeah.
just
All little icons.
I don't care about any of it. I'm not going to do any of these activities. And so here, even if I don't do a lot of the activities, I really genuinely think from my time with it that the way that it slowly unfolds because you've talked to somebody and they said, oh, hey, there's, a wild evil bear over there. I'm like, yo, I got that bear. Don't worry about it. Let me go take care of that for you. So that'll be good.
Gary, Barry, and Barrington.
Gary, yeah, exactly. Thank you for hanging out this Friday after this rainy, miserable Friday afternoon. If we open the door, just water comes in.
I think it might,
Awful.
to be honest.
I have PTSD from my previous living situation. Lived in an apartment, got
Oh,
flooded all the
true, you
time.
did.
I don't want to think about floods.
Seriously.
That's
It's no
true.
good.
I linked to Austin's stories from today as well as
Thank
the Jake.
The Jake vid.
The Jake vid.
You can hear with sound instead of muted.
Yeah.
It's good with sound. Jake is a good guy. He's a good
He
guy.
does seem like a good guy, but maybe only because he barely says anything. And when he says things, they're things like, well, this ain't the first cult, and it's not going to be the last one. Like, yeah, Jake, you're right. You're right.
I think it's that he
Fact.
cares so much and he's so bad at everything. That's what makes he's
That's
so
why
lovable.
That's why I'm lovable.
You know?
So,
Oh, Austin.
It's true. It's
Oh, no.
true.
And here you don't need to say every single thing as
You
far
just
as
said
like,
them all. The
Yeah, I
Scadler
can-
in the chat says that rural America is less interesting than a tropical island or the Himalayas. I don't know. I
I
disagree
don't know
with
about
that.
that.
And I would say I'll point back to my previous comments about the way that we respond to things that aren't here. I haven't been to Montana before. I'm just as interested in the wilderness of Montana as I am Pacific Islands. Like, let's be careful about like how we think about
Exoticism.
exotic places.
Oh, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We exoticize everything that's not what we see every day. I feel like
Totally.
that's a...
And there are ways to still present those places. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's gonna do it for us. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Thank you for
a good
being a
weekend.
friend.